All right, I'm gonna try and make this video as short as I can. I know for the graphs you guys don't have them, but you can add them for when you come back to school Monday. So we're gonna talk about translations. So we got a page of vocab and then we got a page of doing the things. So translation is when you move pointer figures on a coordinate plane the same distance and direction. So figures stay congruent to the original figure and there's no flips or turns. So if it's like my hand here, right? It's in this spot and I move it and it still looks exactly the same. I just have it in a different spot, all right? It's not gonna flip, it's not gonna turn, it's gonna look exactly the same. See how my thumb is pointing in this direction? When I move it, my thumb is still pointing in that direction. So that's the translation, and that's how you know that you have a translation. A new vocab word that's going to be very important and that you'll hear me use a lot is pre-image, which is the original. So if we have a triangle ABC, we call it triangle ABC. The image is the new one, so the one we actually draw the translation from what we start with to how we end. This is the new figure, and it's going to be called triangle A prime, which is like an apostrophe. B prime, C prime. The primes is what tells me that, hey, this is what we moved to. All right? Then we got the vector rule. So we got two different ways we can write translation rules. The first one is the vector rule. So that's how you move or translate a figure, all right? Remember, translation is how you move. Think of it as transportation, right? Transportation takes you from one place to another. Your body is still the same. Translation is the same thing. All right, so vector moves, we use these like pointy parentheses when we talk about vector moves, or that's how you know it's a vector, and which therefore you know is a translation. X moves are first, Y moves are second. So for example, if we have vector 1, 2, that means we go right 1, up 2. It's like the slope. It's always going to come back to haunt you. All right, it's also how we add or subtract the pre-image points. So that 1 tells me to add 1 to my X values. This 2 tells me to add 2 to my Y values. Okay, so we got the vector rule. Next up, we have the straight up translation rule. All right, it's very bougie looking. It's another way for us to talk about translation. All right, and it looks like X comma Y goes to, that's what this little arrow means, X plus 1, Y plus 2, all right? You have to write this whole thing for it to be a translation rule, okay? The X, Y goes to blah, de blah. So this, once again, still means write 1. You still add 1 to the X. This still is moving up 2 and adding 2 to the Y. All right, so it's the same thing. I use the same example for us to follow through with. Now let's actually throw some down. All right, so in these examples, we're going to write the vector and translation rule and then find the image points. So if we have R, the original R, which is called the pre-image because it don't got a prime, it's 2 comma negative 8. We're going to translate it down 4 and write 3. So let's first write out the vector rule. All right, going down 4 is a Y thing and it's a negative thing. And then going right 3 is an X thing and it's a positive thing. Okay, so for my vector rule, that means I'm gonna have 3, because this is a positive 3, it's an X value thing, comma, negative 4, and that's the end of my vector. Okay, when I go to my translation rule, it's going to be X comma Y, gotta write that, goes to, gotta write that, X plus 3, since we're going to the right 3, comma, Y minus 4, close it up. All right, now we're going to actually find the image point. So that means that we're going to have R prime, okay? And once again, we're going to use that information that was given to us. We are going to add 3 to our X value. We are going to subtract 4 from our Y value. Therefore, we get 5 comma negative 12 is my R prime. So we did the vector rule, the translation rule, and actually found our new image point. Next up, Buttercup, is we have A, the pre-image A, negative 3 comma 5. We're going to translate it left 7, up 14. So see if you can do this by yourself. All right, Left 7 is a negative x thing, so I got negative 7. I'm going to subtract 7 in my translation rule. Up 14 is a y thing, and it's a positive y thing, so that means I'm going to have 14 in my vector rule and adding 14 to my y in my translation rule. And then I'm going to subtract 7 from my x, add 14 to my y to help me find my image point. So I get a prime becomes negative 10, 19. All right, so that's doing the translation rule onto my pre-image point to get my new image point. Remember that prime is very important. I am going to be nitpicky crazy about it. All right, let's do some examples where we write the vector and translation rule of a given pre-image and image point. So bringing back some very, very old skills, right? I am going to make an XY table. I'm going to write u first. So I got 2, negative 9. I got u prime with 7, 4. I'm going to figure out what's happening on each of the sides. So on this side, I'm adding 5, all right? You got to make sure that you write your pre-image point first and then your image point, because you are going to start here with that image point before you go to that pre-image. So make sure you put it in the correct order on your XY table, or you're going to have some boo-boos and it's going to be backwards. All right, in my y's, I'm adding 15. So when I write the vector rule, it's going to be 5, 15. Because that was my x value and 15 was my y value. And then for my translation rule, the bougie one, I got x comma y goes to x plus 5 comma y plus 15. Bada ding. There it is. All right. See if you can do this one by yourself. Take a moment, pause, take a breath, try it. All right, here we go. We are subtracting 2 on the x side, subtracting 4 on the y side. So my vector rule is negative 2, negative 4. My translation rule is xy goes to x minus 2, x minus 4. Hopefully you got it right too. All right, last bit of examples. Again, you might have to grab your graphs from class, but here we go. We're gonna graph the image using the rules that were given to us. So we got triangle RAU, so I'm gonna plot those points. We got negative 3, negative 1. Make sure you write the R. A is negative 4, 4. Ooh, I stuttered through that one. There's my A. And then we got negative 2, negative 3. Or I'm sorry, negative 2, comma 3. There's my U. Here is my original triangle. All right, this tells me, my rule tells me to go right 3 and to go down 4. So that means I'm going to do that for each of the points. I'm going to start with R because that begins with R. So I'm going to go right 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we are. And I'm going to write R prime right away, because if I don't, I might mess up, because maybe I thought that was the U, right? So go in order of what you got, only because that way you don't make any silly mistakes, which is very, 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 very common. All right, same thing, right? 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my U prime. Notice how this is still up 4, right 1 away, even though I've moved it. Nothing about it has changed. It is still congruent in that distance. And then I got my A is last, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is my A prime, because that's part of the new image. Notice how this is still 5 up left, 5 up left. So, and my triangle looks the same still. So that means I did not mess up. Everything is the same distance. It looks exactly the same. R is at the bottom, A is in the top left, U is in the middle right. So I translated correctly because nothing got flipped, turned, nothing looks out of place. Everything is still the same size, okay? Next up, we got quadrilateral. That's wolf letters. So we got 2, negative 3. I'm going to put my W. I got 1, negative 1. That's my O. L is 3, 0. That's on the x-axis. We got 4, negative 3. That's over here. All right, so here's my quadrilateral. Nothing super fancy about this. Ooh, this one's kind of tough. It's telling me to not move for my x value, right? So there's no right or left here, so that just stays. But this just tells me to go up 4. So I'm gonna do that with each of my letters. I got W, up 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's W prime. Don't forget your prime. I got O, I'm gonna go up 1, 2, 3, 4, because there is no right or left indicated on that translation rule. I got L, 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is, L prime. F, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's F prime. All right, my shape looks exactly the same because W and F are still 2 away. W and O is up 2, right 1. L is up 1, right 2 from the O still. And then we're down 3, right 1 away from the L and the F. Everything looks the same. My L is still in the top right. My O is still in the top left. W is still in the bottom left. F is still in the bottom right. So my shape did only translate. There was no flipping, no rotations. All right, there you go. That's the end of this. Please make sure to do your homework. Can't wait to see you again.